So today's video is going to be quite the juicy one because we are going to be talking about the 10 luxury handbags that just look cheap. At least to me, okay? And I'm assuming if you come onto this channel, you're here for the personal opinions. Given in the past, I've made many a video about what handbags are underrated, even overrated, and you guys really seem to like it. And if you see and hear noises and things like that, obviously you've seen my dog Pebbles running about. She wanted to be here, okay? So we'll see how this goes. Obviously, I know in the nature of, you know, handbags and fashion, it's very much in the eye of the beholder. It's very personal to you, and some people enjoy and probably have the bags that I'm going to be talking about. On the other hand, is that there are certain universal standards of beauty, of what looks elegant, and let's be honest, none of us buy luxury handbags to look cheap. And I personally think, especially in tough times like today, when handbags are almost in the tens of thousands, we cannot be spending money on tomfoolery that is expensive in your wallet, but cheap on your arm. And I have 10 luxury handbags for you. They're in no particular order. And hello, Pebbles, do you want to join for the video? Do you want to join and come and roast some cheap handbags? Obviously, I'm only covering 10 luxury handbags. There are, of course, plenty more. So if I've missed one that you think, Mel, that is so cheap, you can leave it down in the comments below. Let's start off with none other than Chanel. I think I have 3 bags from them here. So let's start off with the first bag. And this one, I'm sure none of you will find as a surprise. And this is none other than the mini vanities, or just SLGs that turn into miniature handbags. I know we are still in the tiny bag era, and look, they are cute, I will not deny that. However, they look cheap on photos and in real life. I think for £3,000, this is a joke. This is daylight robbery. It looks like something that can also be very easily faked. And I think it just looks really tacky for Chanel. I honestly feel like the shinier the hardware, the cheaper something looks. Is it just me? A bag that you can fit a little pack of Tic Tacs in. You can't even fit your phone. I feel like the bare minimum you can fit your phone, because, or even this, a little clutch with chain. I don't know what you're clutching at straws. This is £3,220. And what is this fitting exactly? A couple of cards? There's so many videos online and so many photos showing the quality mishaps that have been happening with Chanel, with the vanities and the SLGs in particular. And the fact that people are buying these items knowing that they have these faults, I just think is really stupid, because it's in a price bracket of like £3,000, which is a lot more palatable than what Chanel classic flaps and things are going for nowadays, upwards of £7,000, almost £10,000. And I do think that a lot of people buying these miniature bags are trying to get them because they think they can convert it into a handbag. But I personally think if you are going to get a glorified gum holder and you're splashing out £3,000, why wouldn't you have spent that £3,000 on like a Chanel mini, which can actually fit a lot more and is a lot more classic? In reality, it just looks like cheap tat that you're going to reach for only once or twice because you realise you actually can't fit anything in it. Your boyfriend's holding the rest of your stuff, or you've got it clutched in your hands like this. And I personally think if you were to get a lower tier brand, or even another bag from Chanel, whether that be, you know, seasonal, classic, or even vintage, that would make you look a lot more expensive than having a very expensive doll's house item. Now let's move on to the second bag, also from Chanel. Why not? And this one, to be honest, I struggled to pick whether it was going to be this one or even its predecessors of the same kind of like naming convention. I am talking about the Chanel 22. This bag is so damn ugly, but also cheap looking. I just don't understand why anyone would spend £4,840 on this. This is clearly just slapping on the name Chanel onto what looked like a lung, a collapsed lung. Sorry for the imagery here, but it looks deflated, which is ironic because I think the quilting is meant to make it look puffy. And clearly we know Chanel can do puffy bags really well with the quilting, because their vintage bags still, after like decades, look really puffy. But when I've seen them in person, they look terrible. And I've seen them in white colour as well, like a pure white, and it just looks so cheap and tacky. I think ever since Virginie came into the creative director position, bless her heart, she has a lot of big boots to fill when it comes to Carl's legacy. But honestly, the new classic bags look anything but classic. They do not really sell well on the resale market. I don't really see anybody wearing them out. Again, I kind of think it's one of those bags that kind of fits the more approachable Chanel price bracket of, you know, okay, under £5,000 isn't by no means approachable. However, if you're comparing to Hermes as well, this might seem like you're getting a great deal for a Chanel bag, but I honestly don't think it is worth it. And then onto the third bag and the final one, that is from Chanel. And this one is an interesting one because everybody loves this bag, but I think they've done it really, really dirty. And it is none other than the Chanel Kelly bag. But they have many sizes of this. This is like the smallest one. It's £2,500, which some people find approachable. And it goes, I think, all the way up to maybe £4,000 or £5,000 for the bigger size. That does actually fit like an iPhone at bare minimum. Hallelujah. And I almost fell into the hype, almost, of this Kelly bag because I loved the original Party Kelly. It was only after seeing photos and videos of people who had actually, you know, queued up or had, you know, access to the bag earlier than others that I looked close and I thought, the bag does not look like how it does in the photos. And the way that they've done the CC turn lock, I don't know why it's so far down. I think a lot of it was to do with the hype. I almost fell into the hype, the marketing, and the fact that it was, you know, part of the Barbie movie. And the reason why I'm so glad I didn't fall for this and how I basically dragged myself back to reality is because I actually was very fortunate enough to get my hands on the OG Party Kelly. And you can see here the CC is just slightly above the base of the flap, whereas on the new Kelly bag, it is so close to the bottom. Also, there is a non-detachable strap here, which does not make sense because the whole idea of the Party Kelly was to wear it in like your crook of your arm or in a handheld moment. But I actually think it would have made more sense to have it with a detachable strap so that you had the option. And actually this photo, when I look up close, it just looks really cheaply made. Even though they are cheaper than a lot of, you know, the classic flaps and other classic bags in the Chanel range, this is still expensive if you're getting the full size for £5,000 and probably upwards because the resale market is going crazy for this bag. But I think you're better off getting a vintage number or another trapeze shaped bag from a different fashion house because I just personally think that this is not worth it. Just looking at some of these photos on a quick image search here, I mean, the shininess of the leather just looks so thick. I actually cannot discern which ones are the real deal and which ones are fake replicas, to be honest. Now moving on to bag number 4, and this one is from Gucci. And I don't really talk about Gucci a lot on this channel because I don't really own anything from Gucci. But this bag is one that is quite classic, I feel, for the fashion house. And it is the GG Marmont bag. I personally think the worst offenders of the Marmont bag are the shiny versions. So recently they've launched these shoulder bags which have these pearlescent sheens, but I don't think that they've done them very well. You know, a lot of fashion houses, when they do iridescence, it doesn't look overly shiny, whereas this one is like plasticky shiny, if that makes sense. It's even got like a heart on the back, which I just innately found tacky. Price and quality are somewhat correlated, and I think if you're getting a bag for £1,000 and it looks like this, I mean, there's a reason it looks like this. It is definitely on the cheaper of the higher tier luxury brands, and the Marmont is also one that I think was touted for a while as being the it bag. Lo and behold, years later, it does really bad in resale. No one's wearing it anymore. And I know a lot of people will say at this stage, well, Mel, the same could be said about the Chanel bags. I'm not denying that. Everybody has their own opinion. However, the Chanel Classic Flap is notoriously good on resale. It is always going up in price. Compare it to the Gucci Marmont. No one wants them. If you're going for an expensive look, Gucci, with their logo manias, with, you know, their weird collaborations like with the North Face, for example, and also with Balenciaga, it's a little bit more gaudy. So if you're going for that classic look, this just is not it. Don't get me wrong, we all have to start somewhere. But I think with the Marmont, it's particularly overdone and it just looks really cheap, especially in those shiny versions. Some of them look better than others, but I think even this furry one for like £1,500 is just not worth it. And they wear really badly over time as well, and they sag and they go inwards. It's less puffy. And so from a wear and tear perspective, it's also not great. Now moving on to bag number 5, and we are on to Hermes. I've obviously made my opinions on Hermes very, very clear, especially as it pertains to Birkin bait bags, which are the bags that I suppose you have to graduate towards to earn the privilege, the wonderful privilege of being offered the chance to buy another extortionate handbag. The first of the two anyway that I want to talk about is the one that I think is one of the worst offenders, and that is the Hermes Evelyn bag. It is the horse feeder bag, and it's a cute little story of how the Evelyn came about and why it looks like this. But it looks cheap. It has got perforated H on it. It's got the most hideous canvas straps. The ratio of the thickness of the bag strap to the bag looks really comical, and it's just an odd shape. The clasp on it looks lazy. It looks unfinished, really, as a whole package. And I think the hardware just kind of juxtaposes really bizarrely with the perforated H or something. I think they could have added some metal hardware, like they kind of did with the Constance, somewhere in the middle, either on this clasp or here, and that would look infinitely better. And the fact that these are also not as accessible as they used to be, I think you can't even buy them in the store if you just walk up and ask for one nowadays, which is absolutely insane. They've done the marketing really, really well, I'm not going to lie there. But honestly, I cannot disassociate my thoughts from the fact that anyone who has bought the Evelyn, I immediately think that's Birkenbeck that you bought because you actually want a Birkin or Kelly or Constance. And I think a lot of people online, I've seen on YouTube videos as well, kind of hint to that, the fact that they bought this, but you can't really object to a bag, especially so early in your Hermes journey. And look, if you want to do that and play that silly game, that's your game to play and that's your time and your money. But don't pretend like you actually enjoy this bag because nothing special about it. And now I've actually gone on to a different website, which is Saclab, who are very well known in Europe for basically consigning a lot of luxury goods. And they do a lot of Hermes, and they're talking with this article about all about the Evelyn and why it's so great. These are going for like 3,000 euros, some of them. May as well get yourself like a nice Saint Laurent bag or something like that, and you can actually have some money left over for a holiday. And some of these are also aging terribly. They are so slouchy and deflated after time. This looks so sad. The perforated H you can't even really see from afar, so it just looks like a basic bag that you've paid Hermes money for. And now let's move on to bag number 6, which is the other Hermes bag, and this one is the Picotin. And look, I don't actually have a problem with what the bag is attempting to do. It's basically like a tote bag, a little tote bag or bucket bag, right? However, it just looks super unstructured and flimsy, and by that vein, it looks cheap. It just looks kind of unfinished. And the leather, while it might be high quality, is not high quality enough to keep a kind of more structured shape, which I think for a tote bag, you should have because you're using it on the go, maybe for work, maybe for travel. You don't want it slouching around hanging about. And this is by no means like a super cheap bag, is it? I think some of them are probably like £2,000 or £3,000 or something like that. And the fact that it has no like inner storage, when I've seen people unbox this, when they just touch it just to hold it, it's caving in, it has no inner structure on it. Again, I know that's meant to be the style, but if your vibe is trying to go for an elegant, sophisticated look or something that looks timeless, this isn't it. And I think also the tassel, as a side note, is really ugly. They could have really done something a lot nicer with that one. And it's just lazy, just flop that thing over without any kind of security as well to it. And here we have another page from Saclab's website. Oh my goodness, it's more than I even thought. It's more than £3,000, like £4,000 some of them. And I think some colours are really hideous and the printed ones don't look great either. A lot of people trying to make fetch happen, but I just don't think it's happening. Honestly, you could have told me that's from Temu and I would have believed you. It does not look expensive at all. Plenty of other nice tote bags that you can get for a lot less money that is a lot higher quality. Now we are on to bag number 7, and this is by Louis Vuitton. And I actually have 2 bags also from Louis Vuitton. And this one, a lot of people I'm sure will be up in arms about because it is a classic in their range, and it is the Louis Vuitton Speedy Bandoulière. Now, before everybody comes at me, because I know this will hit a lot closer to home for some of you out there, because many will have this bag. It's not a hard and fast rule for all, like for example, some of the vintage ones. I'm more talking about the newer Speedy Bandoulières, so the ones from Pharrell's recent men's collection, for example, which I have a lot here, and I think goes without saying why I think that these are absolutely hideous and cheap. Pebbles doesn't even like it either, do you, Munchkin? Yeah, they just look horrible. The blue, the yellow, the green. It's just not very nice, and I just think they've ruined a classic. Nowadays, the quality is also tanking, and everybody has one, and they're also really easily faked. So then when you make tacky colours on top, you just cannot discern which is the real deal, which is the fake. I largely think the fakes market is responsible for why I feel like this is a cheap bag, because it's literally out on the streets, even in front of shops like Selfridges, brazenly selling fakes. So by default, whenever I see somebody wearing this bag, I just think that it's fake. And now with Pharrell's new collection and all the new women's wear as well, you would imagine even the fakes industry would have created better looking bags than that. And on to the next bag, which is also from Louis Vuitton and is also a classic. one that I've kind of roasted in the past, and none of you, I'm sure, will be surprised. And it's the Louis Vuitton Neverfull bag. Everybody has this and everybody touts this as a really good travel bag or work bag, but it is so overdone and saturated, but also the fact that, you know, they are just naturally flimsy anyway. Also, when patinas are not done well, they can also make the bag look cheaper because they just look rugged. These bags, they are so overdone and so faked as well. It is bringing those bag images down. And so that's why I believe that the Neverfull bag is ultimately a cheap looking bag. Also the construction, need I say more about the canvas issue that we talked earlier. And I think by the nature of having luxury, it's something that not everybody has. Everybody has it, it doesn't seem luxurious anymore. Now we are on to bag number 9, and this one is the only one that I have from this particular brand. It is YSL or Saint Laurent, and I do like Saint Laurent as a whole. I think it is, again, kind of hitting a really sweet spot of middle approachable price points, but with a high quality of product. However, that being said, they are not exempt from critique, as are any of the other brands that I've talked about. And the bag in question is the Puffer bag. I think it is pretty obvious why this bag is on the list, because it is everything that I think makes a bag or any luxury item look cheap. It is too shiny in the leather and the hardware. That makes it look overly cheap because it looks like literally a bin bag. It is very saggy and deflated in the leather. There's no puffiness despite the quilts. And it's ironic given it's the puffer bag. It wears really badly, which again makes an item look really cheap. I know that from watching videos online, the middle kind of sags and it dips in, which is so bizarre to me. That has like no structure to hold it up. And the fact that they are charging over £2,000, almost £2,500 for bags that are in nylon. So basically the fabric of a puffer jacket is absolutely ludicrous to me. And if we go into the bags itself, it's even showing you that it's dipping in the middle here. So it is already giving you the signs, it's giving you the red flags. The opening also, I think it looks awful. Like they couldn't even be bothered to make a proper opening. It's just like a little envelope. As far as YSL Saint Laurent bags go, you could pick better. And now on to the final bag, number 10. And I saved not the best till last, but I think there is good reason to put this on last. This one is not just cheap in the look, but also makes you as the owner of this type of bag or this brand of bag cheap. And it is none other than Balenciaga. The Balenciaga Courroies bag, the Hourglass bag. There are many, many other bags here. I struggled to pick one, so I just kind of bucketed everything into the Balenciaga, maybe shoulder bag category. I think we all can agree that Balenciaga has been on a downward spiral ever since their CP scandal. I know celebrities are really trying to make fetch happen again with this brand. I think it's absolutely abhorrent. Kim K in particular, I think she is just an abomination. The fact that she spoke up so late to the scandal and now is sitting front row at their shows. I think there is no recovering from an incident as severe as CP, and I think anybody who supports Balenciaga as a brand is cheap in the fact that they did not get rid of this item because everybody was selling it or destroying it. So you're cheap in your personality, because how could you go back to a brand who did something so disgusting and insidious like this to children in front of your faces? And how could you still support them by still kind of wearing the items as a billboard, if you will? It says a lot about an individual who's willing to keep and wear with pride a handbag from Balenciaga. And I think it's made worse by the fact that actually when I've observed going out and about, stores are usually empty, luxury consignment stores and also the actual retailers as well. They are always putting Balenciaga bags on sale, so clearly they are not doing very well. And so if somebody is still willing to wear this bag, even after everybody has boycotted that, well, that is cheap and tacky. No one in their right mind would support a brand like this. I think they already looked tacky and awful to start with. I mean, look at these Courroies bags. There's just so much going on. I don't even know what that is. Embroidery, fake snakeskin stuff, weird kind of chain embroidery. No one who is old money or elegant or anything like that would get a bag from them. I would not touch Balenciaga with a 10-foot barge pole. And so if anybody is still wearing this, I'm making a judgment. I'm judging you, okay? And that makes you inherently cheap. So anyways, that all being said, those are the 10 luxury handbags that I think look hella cheap. And I would love to know down in the comments if you agree or if you have others that you would add to this list. So I will leave this video here. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll catch you in my next one.